My name is Dan Oak, and I'm a student at Athabasca University, currently taking the course Comp 306 C++ for programmers. And today we're going to solve some compiler errors associated with the last project, Project 4, of the course, where you have to build a text-based adventure game based on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the famous book by Lewis Carroll. So I had a lot more compiler errors at the start, a day ago, and now I've got them down significantly, but we're going to solve some more. I'm going to look for a group of errors. Oh, there's a common group. A couple of similar errors there. I'm just going to look for a common group of errors to see if I can solve a few errors at once. And a couple. So there seems to be a few clusters of errors. We're going to start today with this index of error, because I see that there's one here and then there's a couple down here. So what is the index of error? Well, in the Alice in Wonderland text-based adventure game header file, we have an error, class Wonderland map has no member named index of. Okay, well, we can see that I have a map, which is an instance variable of type Wonderland map, which is a user-defined class that I've created, and I'm trying to call a method index of on that map. But apparently I didn't define a method of such, so we're getting an error, and that's on line 865. And then I appear to be getting the exact same error, that class Wonderland map just doesn't have a member named index of. So I haven't defined this function for the Wonderland map class. So let's go fix those errors on 865, 1299, 310, 1321, and 1331. So we'll go correct that error. So we're in the main file here. We're going to go down to line 800 and look for that error. And there's some red squiggly lines right there. So the index of function, and as it says, class Wonderland map has no member index of. So we're going to go fix that. So we're going to go open Wonderland map. And we can see right away it's a very small file. It's got a default constructor, which simply instantiates a vector of type location and assigns it to map, which is its private instance variable. And then we have a function that getMap, so just returns the map, a getter function. And we have a getLocation function, which takes in an int representing the array index and returns a reference to a location, a reference indicated by this ampersand. And it does this by dereferencing the pointer associated with this object, whatever object that this method would be being called on. So we dereference that using the arrow operator, and then we call the method associated with, a vector. So we can see that I don't have an index of method, which is why we're getting that error. Now I'm thinking why I probably have that is because, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, I'm taking a few courses from Athabasca University simultaneously. I'm taking Comp 444, which is embedded/robotic programming. It's a hardware course where we deal with robotics, some different sensors and actuators and effectors using the Arduino programming language, which is based off of C++, and there's some Java elements in there as well. And then I'm taking this course, Comp 306, which is C++ for programmers, as well as I'm taking a Java course, Comp 308. So occasionally I'm in the Java mindset. And index of is a function associated with a data type in Java, an array list of type whatever. So a parameterized array list, which is similar to a vector in the sense like here in C++ we have a vector from the standard template library of type location, so you can just make it of whatever type you want. I made it of type location, which is a user-defined class that I've created. In Java, we would have had an array list of type location, and a function associated with array lists is the index of function, where you basically pass in an object. In this case, I could pass in a location, and it will give me the index within the array list that matches that location. Now, there's not exactly a comparable function in C++ for vectors that does that. There's an at function for vectors, which is what I'm using down here. But in that, you actually pass in an integral value, so an int or size t or something that's an integer, and it just gives you the element, the object, at that index. But you have to give it the index number, and it gives you the object back. The index of method works by taking in the object, and it returns to you the index number. So there are some ways that we could do it. We could use the find algorithm associated with the standard template library by including the algorithm header file, and some iterators and iterating through. We could do that. That's one option. Probably the easiest option is for me just to create an index of function. I mean, the error is that, hey, there's no index of function. Let's just create it and we'll add the right functionality for it. Basically, we'll compare. We will use the @ method associated with a vector, or just array index, the subscript operator, to compare the location object that gets passed into the index of method with the. We'll just go iterate through the vector of the map, which is a vector of type location. We'll just iterate through and we'll compare the location that got passed in with all of the indexes of the vector, and if we get a match, we'll return that index. And if we don't, we'll return -1. We'll kind of really just do what the Java's array list function index of does, but we'll do it in C++. So as we can see, we're taking in player.getLocation. So we're taking in a location. So let's create a function that does that. We'll call it, and it's going to return an index, so we'll return an int index. We could call it index of location, but we'll just call it index. It returns it returns an int, and the function is going to be called index of, and we'll use the IDE's AI to generate it. Yeah, so I want a function called index of that takes in a location. I'm passing it by value right now. Don't think I really need it by reference because I just need to know. I just need it to compare, so I don't need it by reference. So pass by value is fine. I'm taking a location, and then I'm going to return an int. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to, I want to iterate. I want to use for loop to iterate through the map. And again, size is a function associated with vectors. I want to iterate through the map, and I want to compare the location that got passed in with the name of the location that got passed in with the name of locations of all of the elements in this vector. So let's do that. And it knows what to do. I'm just going to type next. So the beautiful thing about the AI now with the IDs is it can kind of see all your code, I guess, and just make some really good suggestions. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to create an index of function that takes in an object, in this case a location, this is akin to how the Java index of operator works. It takes in an object and it returns an int. It returns the index where this object is in your array list. I just want to do it for vector. So I need to create my own functionality that I use a for loop to iterate through the vector, the entire vector. Int I equals 0 as long as I is less than map.size. This is a function associated with vectors. Tells us the size of the vector. And then what am I going to do as I iterate through the vector? I'm going to simply compare the location that got passed in, the name of the location that got passed in, with every location in this vector. Because remember, this is a vector of locations. So if map sub I, which is, they're just using subscript indexing, so array style indexing. If map sub I dot get name equals location dot get name, location is the parameter that got passed in. If they're the same name, meaning they're the same location, I'm going to return I. I'm going to return the index that I'm at, whether it's 0, 1, 2, whatever, up to size -1. And I'm going to return -1. If I haven't returned I by then, that means I haven't found the location that got passed in is not in my vector map, my vector of type location. I'm going to return -1. And that works similarly to how the array list function in Java, the index of function, works. It returns -1 if it's not found. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. The only thing I might change, instead of using the index operator here, I might actually call .at. Has the exact same functionality. The only difference, this has error checking. Not that there's going to be error checking because it's already taken care of here. There's no way for it to happen. But if you hover over it, it'll let you know why @, is better. Has safer data access. It has checked. The parameter is first checked to see that it's in the range of the vector, and it throws an error out of range if it's not. You don't get that if I was just to use the if I was used to the subscript operator. See, this allows for easy array data access, but it's unchecked. Out of range lookups are not defined. You'd have to use the add function. So again, it's not really a big deal here. There's no way really for this to go out of range because of the for loop, but I'm just going to do that. So now with the index, that method there, we should actually, that should just work. Let's just go and compile that. So we hopefully will get rid of errors 865 and 1299, 310, 1321, and 1333 or whatever. Recompile the code. Yeah, I don't see the error 861 or whatever it was, 865. I don't see it, nor do I see any of the other index of errors. So I think we've solved the index of ones. So we'll end this video here and we'll solve another one in a minute.